For 3 million years, our ancestors weren't the hunters, they were the hunted. Imagine a world not ruled by humans, but by giants. A place where the rustle of leaves wasn't the wind, but a warning. 3 million years ago, in the savannas of Africa, our distant relatives, the Australopithecines, lived in constant fear. They weren't at the top of the food chain. In fact, they were right in the middle, a perfect meal for a host of terrifying predators. These weren't the lions or hyenas we know today. This was a time of megafauna. Saber-toothed cats like Dinophilis, with fangs like daggers, stalked the tall grass. Giant hyenas, 4 times the size of modern ones, could crush bones with a single bite, and that's just what was on the ground. The real terror came from the sky. Picture this, a small hominid, maybe a child, playing near the edge of a clearing. Its family is nearby, foraging for roots and insects. They feel safe in their small group, but they don't look up. Soaring high above, a shadow blots out the sun for a fraction of a second. It's the crowned eagle, a bird of prey so large and powerful it could snatch a monkey from the treetops. To this eagle, a small Australopithecine child was just another primate, an easy target. The fossil record tells this chilling story. In 1924, a remarkable discovery was made in Tonga, South Africa. A fossilized skull of a young Australopithecus africanus, which came to be known as the Tonga child. For years, scientists debated how this 3-year-old hominid died. Was it disease? An accident? The truth was far more gruesome. Detailed analysis of the skull revealed peculiar marks, tiny punctures and scratches, especially around the eye sockets. They didn't match the bite marks of a leopard or a saber-toothed cat. For decades, the mystery remained. Then, researchers compared these marks to the skulls of modern monkeys preyed upon by African crowned eagles. The match was perfect. The puncture marks were from the eagle's sharp beak. The scratches around the eyes were from its powerful talons as it gripped and killed its prey. The Tonga child had been hunted and eaten by a giant bird. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was the daily reality for our ancestors. They were small, around 3 to 4 feet tall. They didn't have powerful claws, sharp teeth, or blistering speed. Their only real advantages were their growing intelligence and their ability to live in groups. Survival meant constant vigilance. Every shadow, every sound, every movement in the distance could signal death from above or from the surrounding bush. Let's delve deeper into this ecosystem of fear. The Pliocene epoch was a predator's paradise. Alongside Dinophilis, you had Megantereon, a mother saber-toothed cat, a bit smaller but incredibly agile, like a prehistoric jaguar. Imagine trying to find shelter for the night, knowing these creatures were most active in the twilight hours. The caves that might offer protection were often already occupied by these super predators or giant cave bears. The fear of being watched from the shadows. These aren't just modern anxieties. They are ancient echoes, genetic memories passed down through millions of years. From a time when the dark held real monsters and the feeling of being watched meant you probably were. The shift from prey to predator was not a sudden event. It was a slow, brutal, million-year war. It began with scavenging. Following the true killers, our ancestors would wait for the lions and hyenas to finish their meal, then rush in to steal the scraps, cracking open the leftover bones for the precious marrow inside. This was a high-risk, high-reward strategy. It brought them into direct conflict with the most dangerous animals on the planet. But with each stolen meal, they learned. They observed the predator's behavior. They improved their tools. They sharpened their wits. The development of stone hand axes was a turning point. Suddenly, they could butcher a carcass more quickly. They could inflict a painful wound on a would-be attacker. They weren't at the top yet, not by a long shot, but they were no longer completely defenseless. Then came the mastery of fire. This was the game changer. Fire provided warmth. It provided light in the terrifying darkness. But most importantly, it was a weapon. A wall of fire could keep the most ferocious predators at bay. The night, once the domain of the hunters, could now be claimed by our ancestors. The cave was no longer a potential trap, but a fortress. For the first time, they could sleep with a sense of security. With fire, they could also cook meat. This unlocked a huge new source of calories and nutrients, further fueling the growth of their energy-hungry brains. A bigger brain meant better tools, better strategies, and more complex social structures. The upward spiral had begun. The hunted were learning to hunt. The evidence for this transition is written in the bones. Fossil sites start to show not just hominid bones with predator bite marks, but animal bones with cut marks from stone tools, and not just from small animals. Mammoths, giant deer, wild cattle, our ancestors were starting to take on the megafauna themselves. Their mostly hairless bodies and ability to sweat gave them a crucial advantage in heat dissipation. It was a total reversal of roles. The creatures that once terrorized the savannah were now the ones being stalked. Our intelligence, our society, our very nature as humans was forged in the fires of predation. We are the descendants of the ones who survived, the ones who learned to fight back. We weren't born as kings of the world, we earned it, one terrifying night at a time. And this victory, this climb to the top of the food chain, set the stage for our journey out of Africa and across the entire planet. But the world they were about to enter held new dangers and monsters they couldn't even imagine. Thanks for watching.